Alright, in this video I want to explain to you this new franchise I'm doing because in my rebuild with the Cardinals I got frustrated because I don't know if it's the way I set up my roster, but it released somebody from my team from the second time. The first time Audric Estime was released. I don't know why. And he was obviously signed by another team, so I had to try to trade back to get him. And then it happened to me again with this rookie tight end on the Cardinals that I moved to fullback. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Uh, but all of a sudden, he was off my team, and he was on the Seahawks. And I don't know why it released these guys. Probably because of the weird thing I'm doing with the amount of running backs, fullbacks, and tight ends. The computer's like, no, you can't do that. Releases somebody and signs somebody, but I didn't notice anybody else that was signed. I don't know if I had too many people for some odd reason, and it just cut some random guy. But it frustrated me. So I was like, whatever. I went undefeated in that season anyway. That probably should not have happened. Let's mess with the difficulty, and let's bring back the Oilers, the Houston Oilers here. So that's what I did, but as you can see here, Drake May is my quarterback. So I guess the first thing I'll do is I'll show you that I kind of treated this as an expansion team where I basically put who I wanted here. Where Drake May is going to be my quarterback, as I'm going to run the run and shoot offense. I got Joe Milton as my backup and Malik Willis as well. They all got really strong arms and a bit of mobility, especially Willis over here. But it's mainly want that strong arm to run the run and shoot. I'm going to put two running backs here, and both of them are over 240 pounds. Both have about a 60 pass blocking and over an 80 strength. I think they're going to do pretty well in this system. They act as a kind of an extra lineman at times, and then with defenses being spread out by using four receivers, they should have a field day. My other running backs are going to be these two guys that I want to try to develop. This guy was a linebacker on the Bears, but he actually fits pretty well as a running back. I guess he played running back in college or something because he already had a pretty good break tackle and what have you. And I was like, yeah, 250-pound running back. You know what? I want to develop him. He's only 22. This guy, same thing. He was a 63 overall defensive tackle on the Colts, and he's 280 pounds with an 89 speed and 92 acceleration. I don't need a big change of direction, but at that size, I was like, you know what? Here's another project guy. He's only 23. Let me try to develop him, and eventually these guys will replace these two guys as my running backs as I develop them. I got 8 receivers here, mostly, well, pretty much all just quick guys. I got some guys with a good top end speed like Williams over here and Austin here, but mainly agile, good change of direction guys that I think will fare pretty well in the run and shoot, using mostly slot guys, playmaker kind of guys that can get open and make something happen after the catch. The tight ends, what I decided to do here is use it as a spare offensive lineman and spare defensive lineman, because you need to have at least 2 tight ends on your roster. I don't want to use a tight end, so if I have an injury to an offensive lineman, I can put Fant over there, and if I have an injury to my defensive line, I can put Brees over here. So these are just spares, extra depth to the offense and defensive line. And here's my offensive line. I would say pretty good, but not overly stacked. Nothing like like cheating. Just having the best offensive line. It's pretty good, top notch, but it has some weak points there. With the defense, I'm thinking I'm going to use a 4-3 now. I'm going to switch because I like using the wide 9. I've been having fun using it. So I think I'm going to change things up. I was thinking of using my defensive ends as also were used to be 3-4 outside linebackers so that I could drop them back in coverage. So I might do that with these guys, even though generally that's not what I'm going to be doing with these guys as my defensive ends. Again, not top notch, just guys I got with pretty good size, speed, and strength, pretty well balanced in that. And my DTs, I all got some big guys that can move. Wyatt and White were defensive ends, but they were pretty big, pretty decent strength, so I moved them over to defensive tackle. So that should work really well with the wide 9 and should get a lot of one-on-ones for these DTs. And the way I'm kind of imagining it in my mind is it's not so much a 4-3 as it is a 2-5. Because the 2 DDs in the middle I'm considering my defensive line. The outside guys, I want to interchange them to drop into coverage to really make it act like a 3-4, even though I don't have a nose tackle. And instead of a nose tackle, I got that middle linebacker and then the left and right linebackers on the sides of them there. So it's like I have 5 linebackers and 2 linemen. That's how I'm imagining it and how I'm hoping it works out. My linebackers, I wanted some big guys because I want them to be like jackknives, where they're big, they can stuff the run, rush the passer, but also athletic enough to drop back into coverage. And these 2 guys can do that, and we'll run over real quick to the other outside linebackers. These guys, I think, can do the same thing as well. And my middle linebackers, I'm mainly going to be starting Simpson and Wallace here. Good movement. I want them to be able to shoot the gaps, especially this guy has a 91 speed, 95 excel. This guy, 89 speed, 80 excel. Pretty good size and everything. Good coverage guys. So isn't Jamin Davis, but I know he's at a 1 year left, and I think I looked at my re-signings already, and I don't think he wants to come back. So I was like, well, all right, well, I'll just focus on training these guys up then. And at corners, I got a bunch of corners that had good agility, change of direction, because I want to develop them as man coverage guys. But also, what you'll notice with all these guys is 2 things that I focus on. They all got well over a 60 tackle, because I want physical corners that can help in the run game. They all got pretty good, for the most part, hit power as well. But also, maybe these were my safeties that I did this, but I got a lot of people that could jump, that had really high jump, and I think I did that with my linebackers as well. Alright, it just switched over with me. Okay, yeah, see, 94 jump with the starting guy here, 95, 94 with these guys, 93 with Browning, so they can jump up and make some of those plays that interrupt the passes, obviously. The safeties, I'm going to be, I guess it's a lot of 3 high, because what I want to do, or at least 1 high safety, is basically do a cover 3 match where I'll change it into a cover 1 at times. So they'll always have that 1 deep safety. So I want a safety that's got some speed and excel, so he has some range to him to cover the seams to the side of him. but I also want to mix in some cover 6, cover 9, where there's still 3 deep, but it's not played the same because you're not going to have a 3 deep as in a cover 3. You're going to have 3 deep with one side has 2 deep because it's playing cover 4, and the other side is playing cover 2, so you have 1 deep safety playing half. So it's still 3 deep, but I want to disguise and make it look like it's going to be a cover 2 each time. You don't know which way the safety's going to roll. So that's the plan of how I plan on running the defense. I took Cooper DeJean, the flying Frenchman here, and I put him to strong safety because he's a pretty good corner, and I wanted him to start. And I was like, you know what? If I put him to safety, I think he can be a very good tweener because he got good catching, tackle, and hit power for a cornerback. Really good jumping. And I was like, yeah, he can be like a jack of all trades, like the Eagles did with Michael Jenkins. He would come down in like the Super Bowl against the Patriots. He'd come down and cover James White at running back. At times, he would be the guy who would lock down a tight end or a receiver. You would have him drop back in coverage, using the help in the run game, use him to blitz. That's what I want to do with Cooper over here. And this guy I thought was a guy that I could develop. He was a rookie free agent, and I was kind of surprised. He gets pretty decent athletic ability, good size. I guess for a rookie he's old, 24, but that's still pretty young. So I was like, yeah, that's a good guy who could come in. He could even play sub linebacker with the size he has. But I would like to develop him at safety so he learns better in coverage and what have you. And he gets pretty good agility and change of direction to do that. I left the kicker and punter as it was because the team that I did this editing to was the Washington Commanders, and I figured, yeah, what team would I turn into the Oilers? And I was like, well, it was the Washington Redskins, and it was a Washington football team, and now it's the Washington Commanders, and hey, maybe they'll change that. I know they're saying they'll stick with that name, but I was like, I don't like the fact that they changed their name. I don't like their new name. I'm just going to take them and move them to Houston and bring back the Oilers. So that's what I did here. So I still have their kicker and their punter here. I didn't feel a big need to change it. The only thing I did in the franchise so far with trade is I traded their draft picks because they had the number 2 pick. So I used that to get better picks. The settings I'm going to use while I play through this, I'll try to record and go live at the same time so I can post this on Twitch and YouTube. But let me show you the settings I'm going to use so you know the difficulty and all that. Got all Madden using the classic kick meter, going to 8-minute quarters. Accelerated clock's on, but to 25, so it's not really accelerated at all. All this stuff is manual, except for, auto progress and pop-ups. Turn that stuff off. Trade deadline, trade types, all this stuff left the same. Injury in pre-existing injuries, practice squad injuries turned off just for now. Matter of fact, this is where I'm supposed to turn it on. Good thing I came through here. Turn it on before the first game. I every time when I start a franchise for the preseason, I just turn off injuries and practice squad injuries just to get through the preseason, and then when I actually start playing and injuries happen, that's that. And then next year when I go through the preseason, I'll leave injuries on, so whatever happens, got to deal with it. Keeping progressive fatigue on, some storylines, nothing else has really changed here. Just going to go through to make sure if there's anything that's not just standard. Fill roster I turned off because I don't like when they sign guys that you don't want and they give them a signing bonus and it kind of messes up with your salary cap at times. User settings. Oh, I forgot to look at my sliders, but you'll see what I'm doing here. I'm using placement, not placement and accuracy. Kind of practicing, getting used to revamp passing because I liked using that in the college football. So this is the closest thing to it. So I'm messing with this. I have all the defensive help, the heat seeker all the way to 200%. If you didn't know it can go that high, well now you do. The controller, the player art, don't need to see that. I think the biggest thing to look at though is the sliders. And there's a setting outside of the franchise that I think I'll show you. But I made this to make the accuracy a little bit more realistic. I might even have to lower this so that, I got a rookie quarterback with not the top-notch accuracy, so I expect some bad passes. But the pass blocking is just horrible. So we got a little bit of help there. The wide receiver catching doesn't seem to need to be helped. Put down run blocking, because even with this, I still average 5+ yards a carry. Especially in the last season I did, I think I had a 7-yard average with James Conner. For defense, got a little bit of help. Turned the interceptions down. I actually turned it up to 40. If I start getting too many, I'm going to drop it down to 35. But the reaction time, definitely need help. I'm slow and old. Tackling down a little bit because the computer doesn't use a lot of jukes and spins. Make it more like you're playing against a human that will get some broken tackles. Pass coverage goes up all the way because the coverage sucks. And this just makes it where the coverage is decent. The computer will still complete 60+% of their passes. It's just coverage a little tighter. You'll get a bit more knockouts and chances to actually, at times, get a quarterback to get below 60% when you have it here. Not guaranteed, but when you're playing a crappy quarterback covering crappy receivers, you can get them to have less than a 60% completion percentage, which is realistic. And to help with that realism, I turned down the quarterback accuracy on the computer, so now you actually get some inaccurate passes, especially from the crappy quarterbacks who throw crappy passes more often than the top-notch elite ones. It's hard to get a pass rush. They have like all the time in the world, so we're lowering that. They catch everything. Lowering it down here, they still catch everything, but you got a chance to knock them out. And crappy receivers and tight ends and running backs will drop the ball. So this is pretty decent right here. Might have to raise it a little bit, but it seems when you raise it a bit from here, they'll just catch everything. So this is the best. You lower it, and then it's just way too many drops and broken up passes. Helped out their run blocking, but lowered their ball security because they don't fumble a lot, especially the quarterbacks. Notice the quarterbacks don't fumble like they did in Madden 24. They can tank a lot of stuff, hit sticks and everything. It's pretty ridiculous. Left their reaction and coverage and tackling, but dropped their interceptions so that their guys would actually drop them. Might have to raise this up a bit just to make it more of a challenge and make you pay for it when you throw bad passes. Drop the kicking accuracy to make that a bit challenging. Don't think the power needs to be messed with, but the accuracy made it so it's a little more difficult. Punt power, put it up because it seems like the punting, the power is just horrible. So raise that up. Didn't change the accuracy and didn't change the kickoffs. Injuries at 15. Fatigue, put it up a bit so that you can have a rotation. I like to have, especially with the defensive line and the running backs, I like to have them rotate out quite often. So this helps with that. This speed thing, this seems to be good. Might have to lower or raise that as I play through. Offsides makes the defense a little bit more aggressive for the computer and for the user. but to minimize it just being, because it seems that they'll call false start more often than offsides. That is just turned off, along with the holding, just to have some good offensive line play, and to have a more aggressive defense. That's why the face mask at 99. Playing with this, I didn't see any face mask penalties so far, but it does make the seems like the pursuit angles and how fast they react to the ball carrier definitely changed for the computer and for you. Turn pass interference down, because it seems like they'll call pass interference on stupid stuff, but also turned off illegal contact, so that you happen to bump into somebody. I've had it happen. That's not even where the play is going, but you bumped into them, so illegal contact. Left running into the kicker on, because roughing the kicker, they call that for even when you just bump the kicker. Intentional grounding is turned off so that the computer will actually be a little bit more dynamic, a little more like the user. When this is off, they'll tend to escape the pocket a little more and look to throw it down the field. It's strange, I don't know why, but it seems to affect the way the quarterback on the computer side plays, which it actually ups the difficulty a little bit. It kind of makes it a little fun. You'll see as I go through these games. But there is a setting that I don't think is in the franchise that I'll show you, but I want to make sure there's nothing else I want to show. I guess Bill Parcells is my head coach. I'm pretending that I have Mouse Davis as my offensive coordinator. Defensive coordinator, I don't know, somebody does the wide nine, like the guy on the Browns, their defense coordinator. Can't remember his name. Man, his name slipped my mind. But some defense like his. I think his defense did pretty well last year until they got to the playoffs. It's similar to what the Niners run and the Texans run and the Jets run. I figured I was going to mess around with that. I usually do a 3-4. But we're going to switch that up. So to wrap the video up, let me show you that setting that I think is pretty cool. Another reason why I like using the bigger backs. And let's see if we can find it here. Right here. It's called physics-based tackling results. And this determines how the tackles are based on physics. And I'll mess with this to see what's better, if I need to lower it up it. But that's why I wanted to take that guy who was 280 pounds and make him a fullback. Because I can run the ball with him, and a 280-pound guy versus your maybe 200-pound safety and corner, I'm going to run them over. So even if you tackle me, I'm pushing forward. Right? I'm winning that battle, even though you get the tackle. And I can still push forward against your linebacker, who's 250 pounds. I still am bigger than he is, and if I am coming downhill, I'm going to push through. Even if you get the tackle, I'm going a few yards past you. So that again makes it more realistic. That's why, A.J. Dillon, the guy from the Packers I have on my team, because that's what he does. He's not like the most talented running back, but he's big and he's tough and he runs downhill. And in cold Green Bay, you're not going to want to tackle somebody like that, like the Eagles did with LeGarrette Blount when they won the Super Bowl. He's like a 250-pound running back, and you keep running into him with a guy that big. After a while, they don't want to do it anymore. Especially when they had Jay Ajayi, they could switch. So the running backs get plenty of rest, and they keep beating on you. It does a number on you. So, with that being said, I brought back the Oilers. I hope you watch my season. I'm going to try to do the whole 30 years before the year is out. this Madden year. And yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy it. But I'm mainly doing this so I can also warn you that time's almost up. And you never know when your time is up. It could be sooner than it is for the majority of people. It could be today. And what do I mean by your time being up is that today may be the day you meet your maker. God forbid that's happening today, but it could be. And if you're not prepared to do that, you're in for a rude awakening. Because there's only two places we go after we leave this world. It's either heaven or hell. And the only people who go to heaven are those who are perfect. And nobody meets that standard. We all deserve hell because we're not perfect. We're all sinners. We're all selfish. We're all prideful. We're all arrogant. And we all have a desire to sin, to do those things. And that's why we do the wrong thing and say the wrong thing, because we find pleasure in it, because it's for our own benefit and not for the benefit of anybody else but ourselves. And if we're honest with ourselves, we can accept God's judgment of us that we deserve hell. And if you're humble enough to accept that, God's willing to take your place. Because what we deserve is death and hell at the cross. But he's willing to step in and exchange lives with us. So that if we would give up our life to him, that's 100%. You don't hold on to anything. You give God your bad along with your good. Well, you're no longer establishing your righteousness, trying to think you're good enough to go to heaven. Well, that's saying you're perfect. Yeah, you're holy, you're righteous. You're full of yourself. You're lying. You're deceived. And that's why it takes some humility to accept this. If you're willing to do that, and you give God your life and just ask him for mercy, ask him for grace, because that's the only way you can be saved, is if he saves you. And he does that by giving you his perfect life that he lived as a man, the life you couldn't live. And he gives it to you at the cross, taking your judgment and condemnation onto himself so that he would die for you, so that you would live forever with him in heaven, that you wouldn't have to go to hell. Because believe it or not, God is for you, he's not against you. He loves you. And he wants to be with you forever, and he made the way so that that would happen no matter what. All you have to do is accept it. But what gets in the way is your pride, your arrogance, and you wanting distractions, not preparing for your death. The most important thing you can do is prepare for your death. Because once you're prepared for it, you can do something like enjoy Madden. Even though a lot of times it's not enjoyable. I know a lot of people don't like the way they have been running this franchise, this video game franchise. But we try to make the best of it, right? It just shows to our sinful nature how they keep putting out, until recently, the same game with a roster update to make money off of it, because we're sinners. We're selfish and greedy. And this is a good example of it. And we're no better. If we were in their shoes, we'd probably do the same thing. Because we're greedy, selfish creatures. And we're just jealous that they're the ones benefiting from it more than we are. That, and we do want a better game. But this one has been better than most others. There's still a lot of things I wish they never took out of the game, and they didn't feed it back to us as if it's something new. But with all that being said, thanks for watching. Thanks for finishing the video and hearing me out. I hope you if you're not saved, you get saved, and you stay tuned for the season.